So, like, the classic blueprint for building an audience online usually starts with an alarm clock.
Oh yeah, the dreaded 4 a.m. wake-up call.
Right. You know the exact image I'm talking about.
Right.
The flawless aesthetic stretching routine in this, like, minimalist living room, bathed in perfect golden hour light, and then the perfectly blended kale smoothie.
Yeah, where
Uh,
every single piece of fruit is symmetrically arranged in a bowl.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we are told over and over that to build authority and sell a brand, you just have to present your life as this fully optimized, aspirational fantasy.
It's like walking through a heavily staged real estate listing. Every kilo is karate chopped, there's not a single speck of dust, and honestly, nobody actually lives there.
Nobody lives there, but if you're listening to this deep dive right now, chances are you are completely exhausted by that performance, which is why today's mission is so exciting.
We have a comprehensive internal strategy document on the table today that fundamentally shatters that whole staged real estate approach.
It really does. We are looking at the master blueprint of a creator named Twanna Y'vette.
And when I say master blueprint, I mean we actually have access to her specific blog structures.
Yep.
We've got the exact psychological hooks she uses in her YouTube scripts.
Which is wild to see laid out like that.
Right. Plus, her internal podcast talking points and the precise business funnel bridges she uses to connect her audience to her brand, the TYR digital store.
This document is just a literal roadmap for building a thriving community. And Twanna isn't building her empire by pretending she bounces out of bed at 4 a.m. with that kale smoothie.
Not at all. She is building it by openly admitting that some days she can barely get out of bed at all.
Which makes her the ultimate antidote to this perfect influencer fatigue we're all feeling. We are going to unpack how she has taken profound, messy personal struggles and turned them into a masterclass on authentic community building.
Stuff that most marketers would literally beg you to hide.
Yeah. She proves that leading with your flaws is actually the single most powerful trust builder in modern media.
The timeline here is what immediately jumps out from the data, though. Twanna has accumulated a dedicated audience of 14,000 subscribers.
That's a serious number.
It is. But she didn't do it overnight through some algorithmic fluke. Her strategy document details a 9-year journey.
9 years of just consistent content creation, which has resulted in a library of over 1,000 videos.
1,000 videos.
Mhm.
And she operates in a niche that platforms like YouTube heavily prioritize health, wealth, and relationships.
But her data set is built on an approach that turns the standard marketing playbook for those categories completely upside down, right?
Completely. Let's talk about that approach, actually. Because 1,000 videos over 9 years means she isn't just guessing anymore.
Right, she has a massive testing ground. She knows exactly what resonates with human beings, and what resonates isn't the highlight reel.
No. Standard marketing tells you to lead with your accolades, put your certifications in your bio, show the after photo, and project absolute invulnerability.
But Twanna starts from a place that is, honestly, startlingly raw. Like, I was shocked reading this.
I actually want to read directly from her flagship post structure in the blueprint to illustrate exactly how raw we are talking about.
Go for it.
So, before she pitches a product, before she even establishes her professional credentials, she openly lists her chronic health struggles to her audience.
She just puts it all right out there.
Yeah, she explicitly writes that she navigates daily life with sciatica, gastroparesis, fibromyalgia, high blood pressure, migraines, anemia, and stage 1 kidney disease.
Wow.
And that's layered on top of depression and anxiety.
Okay, hold on. Standard marketing wisdom would look at that list and just smash the panic button.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you are trying to build an authoritative brand in the health, wealth, and relationships space, dropping a massive list of chronic, debilitating illnesses right at the front door, that seems incredibly risky.
That seems like brand suicide, right?
Yeah. Doesn't this just turn her feed into a depressing pity party? Like if I'm scrolling online looking for motivation or a life strategy, and I see someone listing out severe kidney disease and fibromyalgia, my first instinct might be to feel sorry for them.
Right, you feel pity, not an urge to buy their digital products.
Exactly. So how does she avoid drowning her audience in her own struggles?
Well, the blueprint addresses this exact psychological hurdle in her copywriting instructions. Twanna includes a very specific framing device.
What does she say?
She writes, I say this not for sympathy. I say it so you know I'm not writing this from a place of perfect health.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she shifts the narrative from seeking pity to defining her baseline. She calls this operating from a place of persistent effort.
Persistent effort. Man, that completely changes the context.
It alters the entire power dynamic between the creator and the consumer. Instead of positioning herself above her audience on this, like, pedestal of perfect health, she is placing herself right down in the trenches with them.
That makes so much sense. When a consumer reads that list, the societal conditioning to feel pity is immediately hijacked by a sense of profound credibility.
Exactly. She isn't some fitness guru who has never experienced joint pain telling you to do burpees.
Right. She is someone whose muscles literally feel like they are on fire from fibromyalgia, and she is still showing up to do the work.
I see how that works for the listener. Because when you are an audience member who is just fatigued by perfection,
Yeah.
and you have your own invisible struggles.
Like maybe you didn't sleep, maybe your back hurts, or maybe you're dealing with chronic anxiety.
Yeah, it is so easy to look at a perfect influencer and say, well, it's easy for them. They have good genetics and a private chef. Their advice doesn't apply to me.
But when Twanna lists migraines that literally steal her vision and she still manages her life, it completely shatters the audience's excuses.
It really does.
Yeah.
You can't use the "my life is too messy" excuse when the person leading you is openly managing stage 1 kidney disease.
Yep. That mechanism right there is the core of her authority, and I think we are witnessing a massive shift in consumer psychology here.
Oh, for sure. Aspirational content used to be the primary driver of sales. You showed a lifestyle the audience wanted, and they bought your product to get closer to that fantasy.
But today, aspirational content often just alienates people. It triggers comparison and inadequacy.
Twanna's strategy recognizes that modern consumers are craving validation of their reality, not an escape from it.
Yes. By listing her physical realities, her vulnerability becomes her ultimate authority. She is proving she actually possesses the resilience her audience is desperately trying to find.
Which brings us to a fascinating intersection in her identity, because physical health is really only one layer of this vulnerability strategy.
Right, the blueprint shows she is also a licensed and ordained Christian.
And traditionally speaking, being an ordained minister carries this immense weight of expectation.
Totally. You are supposed to be the spiritual rock. You are the person people come to when their lives are falling apart, which kind of implies your own life is perfectly put together.
Her internal notes actually describe that ordination as a heavy responsibility, not just some casual title.
But she doesn't hide behind it.
No, she applies the exact same strategy of radical vulnerability to her faith as she does to her physical health.
How does she do that?
Her podcast talking points specifically instruct her to openly admit she doesn't have all the answers.
Wait, really?
Yeah, she quotes scripture like Matthew 7.24 about building a house on the rock and Joshua 1.9 about being strong and courageous. But she juxtaposes those traditional pillars of strength with script hooks like God uses broken people.
See, if I take my car to a mechanic, I want them to know exactly how to fix the transmission. I do not want the mechanic coming out, wiping grease off their hands and saying, some days I doubt engines even work.
That's a hilarious comparison, but it's true.
If she is an ordained minister, her job is to be the spiritual guide. Doesn't dropping a phrase like broken people or admitting she doesn't have the answers completely undermine her authority?
Well, you are applying an industrial age model of authority to a digital age community.
Okay, unpack that for me.
In a traditional hierarchy, authority comes from infallibility. The expert has the knowledge, you do not, therefore you listen to the expert.
Right, the classic top-down approach.
But in modern digital communities, authority stems from shared experience and empathy. Twanna actually has a specific YouTube hook outlined in the strategy that says, I live with chronic pain, chronic illness, and chronic doubt some days.
Chronic doubt. Wow. Admitting to chronic doubt as a faith leader is a massive departure from standard religious broadcasting.
It is a radical admission, but think about the psychology of her audience. Much of the religious or self-help content online implies that faith is a magic cure-all.
Yeah, the subtext is always like, if you just pray hard enough, your fibromyalgia will disappear.
Or if you just have enough faith, your bank account will overflow.
And if an audience member is sitting at home steeped in clinical depression or physical agony, and a perfectly healthy minister tells them to just believe more, the immediate reaction is alienation.
Exactly. The viewer thinks her faith works for her because she's special, but it won't work for me because I am fundamentally broken.
She actually has a brilliant metaphor for this exact phenomenon in the sources. She says society treats faith like a spare tire.
Oh, I love that part.
We only use it in emergencies. When the road is smooth, we just coast along. But the second we hit a pothole and the tire blows out, we suddenly scramble to the trunk to find God.
That critique of the spare tire mentality allows her to flip the whole narrative.
Yeah, by admitting to chronic doubt, she removes herself from the pedestal. She tells her audience that faith doesn't mean experiencing a perfect, pain-free life.
It means trusting the system that holds your imperfect life together.
She writes that the storms will absolutely come, the migraines will flare up, the money will dry up, the doubt will creep in.
Right, so the question isn't how to avoid the storm, but what foundation you are standing on when it inevitably hits.
And by doing that, she gives her audience permission to be honest about their own doubt. If the ordained minister is allowed to say, "I am struggling to believe today," then the person watching their living room is allowed to say it too.
She has to dismantle the shame her audience feels about their imperfect lives before she can ever hope to teach them a new way to live.
Breaking down that shame barrier really is the mandatory first step. If the audience is hiding their cracks, they will never engage genuinely with her solutions.
And this foundational trust, which she builds through shared physical pain and shared spiritual doubt, is the required bedrock for the next phase of her strategy.
Which is introducing her structured life system. Let's dig into that architecture because you can't just build a brand on shared trauma or mutual complaining.
Right. You have to offer a way forward.
And Twanna's blueprint is incredibly structured. She doesn't just throw advice at the wall and see what sticks. She organizes her entire life philosophy into what she calls the 4 pillars.
The blueprint categorizes these as faith first, money with purpose, health when your body fights back, and the mirror test, which focuses on self-relationship.
What I find so compelling for you listening to this, especially if you're trying to figure out how to structure your own knowledge or content, is that she explicitly refuses to treat these as isolated categories.
Yeah, the strategy document uses a really specific visual.
Yeah.
She describes these 4 pillars as threads woven into one rope.
That metaphor of the woven rope is critical to understanding her business model. Let's analyze how she builds this ecosystem, because hustle culture, which just dominates modern media, insists on isolating these threads.
Oh, completely. The entire internet is built on telling you to sacrifice one thing for another.
The finance gurus tell you to sleep 3 hours a night and eat ramen noodles, sacrificing your health so you can get your money right.
And then the fitness influencers tell you to spend 4 hours a day in the gym and track every single macro, sacrificing your relationships and peace of mind to get your body right.
It is always a trade-off. Always.
But Twanna argues the exact opposite. Her philosophy is that if one thread frays, the entire rope snaps.
You cannot achieve true stability if you are financially rich but physically broken.
Or spiritually grounded but entirely devoid of self-love.
Let's look at how she interconnects them in her content. Faith is the anchor, right? It provides the psychological baseline so you don't panic when a crisis hits.
Then you move to the second pillar, money with purpose. And she is very quick to say she isn't some Wall Street financial guru.
Right. She positions herself as a journalist of her own life.
But she frames money management as a form of stewardship. She notes that every dollar is essentially on loan.
It's not about amassing wealth for the ego.
Exactly. It's about managing what you have so you can buy yourself freedom, better food, better health care.
Notice how she ties the financial directly back to the spiritual. One of her documented podcast talking points is the phrase, "Generosity breaks greed."
That's such a powerful reframe.
She uses financial management not as a path to buying a Lamborghini, but as a spiritual practice to free the individual from anxiety.
And once the financial anxiety is managed, it feeds directly into the third pillar, health, when your body fights back.
This one is profound because she isn't promising a six-pack. She says the goal of physical health is simply to generate enough energy to show up for the people you love.
Her specific phrasing is about honoring the body you currently have, rather than punishing it for not being someone else's.
Honoring your body instead of punishing it? I mean, think about how much of the fitness industry is based entirely on punishment.
It really is. You ate a bad meal, now you have to punish yourself on the treadmill.
You don't look like the magazine cover, so you must punish yourself with a restrictive diet.
Standard fitness marketing just manufactures insecurity. It requires you to hate your current state so you will purchase a solution.
Twanna's strategy explicitly states, your body is a temple, not a museum.
I love that line. A museum is meant to be looked at from behind velvet ropes.
But a temple is meant to be lived in, worshipped in, and maintained for a higher purpose.
And that naturally flows right into the final pillar, the mirror test, which is her concept of self-relationship.
She teaches that you cannot give what you do not have.
Right. If your faith, money, and health are constantly draining you and you are running on empty, You will eventually resent the very people you were trying to serve.
So self-love in her ecosystem isn't framed as, like, a selfish spa day. It is framed as a foundational responsibility.
The 360-degree view of this ecosystem is highly effective from a psychological standpoint. Faith anchors you. Money frees you. Health energizes you. Self-relationship grants you grace.
But we need to look at the underlying mechanics here because this holistic approach isn't just profound life advice. It is a highly engineered, cohesive business strategy designed to monetize a digital storefront.
Yes, this is where we need to connect the dots for the listener, because the leap from "I am struggling with kidney disease" to "here is my digital store" can be a very dangerous bridge to build.
Let's talk about the TYR digital store. How does she use these deeply vulnerable four-pillar blog posts as a funnel without betraying her own message?
Well, the strategy document contains specific blueprints for what she calls product bridges. At the end of these highly personal, vulnerable posts, she strategically places offerings from her store,
But let's look at what those offerings actually are. She has a few options listed.
like bundled digital products, right?
Yeah, combining a faith devotional, a financial budgeting worksheet, a chronic illness symptom tracker, and a relationship guide.
Or she can offer store-wide browsing to let the reader choose their own adventure.
Or she bridges them to a deeper continuity program, like a membership or coaching platform that includes live Q&As with her.
The mechanism of this funnel relies on absolute frictionlessness. Because her free content already covers the full spectrum of a person's life, her digital store naturally positions itself as a curated library of practical tools.
I do have to throw a red flag here, though.
Okay, what is it?
If you are dealing with an audience that is in chronic physical pain or experiencing deep spiritual doubt or facing a financial crisis, people who are highly vulnerable, introducing a digital storefront right after they've read your story of suffering could easily feel predatory.
It could, yeah.
How does she avoid the bait and switch? Standard marketing often feels like it manufactures a problem just to sell you the cure.
The difference lies entirely in the value proposition and the sequence of delivery.
Explain that.
You are correct that standard marketing often makes you feel insecure about something you didn't even realize was a problem, say, the texture of your skin or the efficiency of your morning routine, and then aggressively paywalls the solution.
Right. You're doing it wrong. Give me $50 and I'll tell you how to do it right.
Exactly. But Twanna's approach flips this. She acknowledges an existing problem that the reader is already agonizing over, like the exhaustion of chronic pain or the panic of debt.
But she doesn't offer a magical cure to fix it instantly because that would be a lie.
She offers tools to manage it. Let's look at the exact sequence she uses to build this trust, because the blueprint outlines something called her morning checklist strategy.
And this is the secret sauce. Before she ever asks for a credit card, she is giving away the farm.
The morning checklist details how she structures a post. She takes a flagship, vulnerable essay, breaks it into the four-pillar categories, but within the text itself, she provides massive, immediate, and free value.
She doesn't write a post about financial anxiety and say, to find out how I solved this, buy my $40 worksheet.
No, she provides the exact philosophy and actionable steps within the free content.
She writes in the blueprint that the store is never positioned as a gatekeeper to the truth. She explicitly frames it as a way to go deeper.
The phrasing is brilliant.
It is. She says, if you want tools, guidance, and community, I've created resources because you don't have to do this alone.
It positions the TYR digital store not as a cash grab, but as a logical extension of her ministry and her personal legacy.
The psychological principle here is reciprocity. When you give an audience member profound validation regarding their hidden struggles, and then you give them immediate, free, practical steps to begin healing, they naturally feel a deep sense of trust and gratitude.
Absolutely. Purchasing a product from the store becomes an act of joining her community on a deeper level, rather than a mere transactional exchange.
Okay, let's get into the granular details of those free, practical action steps she gives away. Because if you want to know how she grew a fiercely loyal community of 14,000 subscribers, it comes down to how she tells them to take action.
This is her community growth strategy.
Right. Her strategy relies on designing highly specific, extremely low-barrier action steps for each of the four pillars.
She is actively trying to remove every ounce of friction and intimidation for a reader who is already overwhelmed by life.
Let's go through these because for you listening, this is how you actually get people to engage with your ideas. For the faith pillar, she doesn't tell a depressed person to go volunteer for 10 hours at a soup kitchen or read the entire Bible in a year.
That would just paralyze them.
Exactly. The blueprint literally says 5 minutes of stillness. Not doing, just listening. Read one verse, say one prayer.
The threshold for success is set intentionally low. Look at the money pillar. She doesn't instruct her audience to download a complex financial software or track every single penny in a massive spreadsheet.
Which would immediately trigger anxiety.
The action step is literally just open the banking app just to look, without judgment.
Just opening the app, that is such a real fear for people in debt. Just logging in causes a panic attack.
I know people just delete the app off their phone so they don't have to look at it.
Yeah. She says to open it without judgment, write down one thing you spend money on that you don't value, one thing you do value, and make one small change this week.
Then we get to the health pillar, which is probably my favorite because it is the ultimate anti-hustle advice. She tells her audience, pick one thing.
Not a total lifestyle overhaul, one single micro action.
Right. Just drink one extra glass of water today. Or take a 10-minute slow walk.
Eat one unprocessed meal, or just go to sleep 15 minutes earlier. Do that for 1 week.
Contrast that with the fitness influencers demanding 2-a-day workouts and zero-carb diets.
It reminds me of trying to get a kid to build a Lego set. If you dump a 1,000-piece castle on the table and yell at them to build a masterpiece in 10 minutes, they will just cry and walk away.
Of course they will.
Twanna isn't dumping the box. She is handing her audience a single, plain 2x4 Lego brick. And she's saying, just place this one brick on the table today. That's all you have to do.
The Lego analogy perfectly captures the mechanism. And the final pillar, the self-relationship pillar, might be the most challenging single brick she hands them.
She calls it the mirror test, right?
The instruction is for the audience member to physically look themselves in a mirror and say aloud, I forgive you for blank. I am proud of you for blank. I am going to take care of you today because you matter.
She even acknowledges in her notes that the audience will feel silly doing this, but she insists they do it anyway.
It's confronting, but it is actionable.
So how do these tiny microactions translate into actual community growth? Like, how does handing out a single Lego brick build an audience of 14,000 people over 9 years?
It comes down to how she leverages these microactions in her comment sections.
Oh, this is the best part.
At the end of her posts, after sharing her own vulnerable story and outlining these low-barrier steps, she asks her audience a highly specific, low-stakes question. Which pillar are you working on right now?
That is so smart, because if you write a deeply vulnerable post about a financial crisis and you ask your audience, what is your biggest financial failure? Nobody's going to answer that in a public comment section.
The shame barrier is just way too high.
Exactly the point. A reader might be deeply embarrassed to admit they are $50,000 in credit card debt and their marriage is on the rocks because of it.
But they feel entirely safe typing the words, I'm working on the money pillar today.
Or, I'm focusing on the health pillar this week.
By asking them to pick just one cracked pillar, she gives them an unintimidating entry point to engage.
And because she has already shared her own authentic health stories, her own messy, imperfect reality, she has completely removed the shame barrier.
When the creator is bravely imperfect, the community feels safe. They realize they don't have to have it all together to participate in the conversation.
That psychological safety is what transforms a passive, scrolling lurker into an active, trusting member of a community.
It really is a masterclass in behavioral psychology applied to digital media.
Truly is.
By pairing 9 years of consistent data with a strategy that relentlessly prioritizes the audience's psychological safety over the creator's ego, she naturally funnels a fiercely loyal audience into her business ecosystem.
We have unpacked a massive amount of strategy today. Just to chronologize the brilliance of Twanna Y'vette's blueprint for you, she isn't relying on a viral gimmick.
No gimmicks at all.
She leverages 9 years of consistency and pairs it with a radical, almost jarring level of vulnerability regarding her chronic health battles and her spiritual doubt.
She uses that raw honesty to establish unbreakable credibility,
which she then structures into the interconnected 4-pillar system. And by providing massive free value through microactions, she naturally and authentically funnels a deeply loyal audience into the TYR digital store.
She isn't tricking them with a bait and switch. She is simply offering them a helping hand when they are in the dark.
The entire blueprint is a testament to treating an audience like complex, struggling human beings rather than just metrics on a dashboard.
It proves that authenticity outlasts aesthetic perfection every single time.
It really does. And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your week.
Let's hear it.
We spend so much of our professional lives, and honestly our personal lives, aggressively trying to hide our cracks. We hide our murky diagnoses, our financial anxieties, our illnesses, and our deep-seated doubts.
Because we are terrified that if the world sees them, it will ruin our credibility.
Exactly. We think those cracks disqualify us from being leaders, but looking at Twanna's 14,000 strong community and the sheer power of her strategy, you have to
I
wonder,
wonder.
what if the very things you are most desperately afraid to share are the exact foundational stones you need to build your most authentic legacy?